I've had problems. All right. Well, folks, it is 6 o'clock, I see. It is 6 o'clock, and I'm so excited. We've been planning this, right, Stephanie and Concha, since the summer, because I felt that this is an area that I don't understand completely, if at all. And Stephanie said she didn't understand it, and so she goes, "Yeah, let's do this." So she grabbed another expert in the field, and away they went. So welcome to our Understanding Literacy Training Options event tonight. We have two people here, Dr. Stephanie Stollar and Concha Wyatt. So let me introduce them for you, and then we'll get going. So let's see. Concha is a self-proclaimed word nerd and a veteran OG practitioner and trainer. She has worked both in public schools at the middle and high school levels with struggling readers, and for 16 years at an independent school for students with dyslexia, where she taught, trained new staff, and developed accredited training programs at the beginning and advanced levels of OG. She currently works as an independent OG literacy consultant and national letters trainer. Her favorite quote is by Van Gogh: "I'm always doing what I cannot do yet in order to learn how to do it." It's that yet statement, right? All right, and Dr. Stephanie Stollar is a part-time assistant professor in the online graduate program in reading science at Mount St. Joseph's University. She is the creator of an online membership community called the Reading Science Academy. She's a founding member of a national alliance for supporting reading science in higher education. As a board member for the Innovations in Education Consortium, she collaboratively plans the annual MTSS Innovations in Education Conference. Dr. Stollar is the former vice president for professional learning at Acadience Learning Incorporated, and you can follow her work on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and contact her at blank, blank, blank email. So it is such a pleasure to have both of you ladies here today. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. In the chat, folks, I put the PowerPoint that Concha said is a great note catcher. So I apologize you didn't get it before. You'll have to just use paper and fill in later. So without further ado, take it away.
Thank you, Donna. Concha and I are happy to be here at your invitation. And I really have to thank Concha for joining me in this endeavor, because this is not easy to untangle. This is a very complex topic. There are so many options, which is a really good thing for educators. We don't consider ourselves to be experts. We have engaged in about a 5-month journey to, to really understand what the options are and to be able to present it to you tonight, hopefully in a logical way that will give you some guidance about how to make decisions about your next steps. So we hope that we are providing you with accurate information. We've done our best to investigate and make sure that what we're providing is accurate. If you have questions, please send those in the chat and we'll take those questions at the end. We wanted to kind of get through all of the territory and then see what questions were remaining. So we'll do that at the end. And you'll notice a disclaimer here under our email addresses that just because we've used something as an example doesn't mean that any of the three of us are necessarily endorsing it. We're just trying to bring you factual information. So, okay.
So we decided to use the format of the frequently asked questions that Donna finds on the Facebook group. And they're kind of centered around some of these topics like, do I do letters? Do I do Orton Gillingham? How do I increase my knowledge of reading? Where do I start? And that's a very big topic. And if you want to become a dyslexia specialist, what do I do? So that's how we framed this time with you tonight. And we decided that we would, like Stephanie said, we worked on this for a while and we were trying to wrap our head around how we would bring this to you. And we decided that we would use the International Dyslexia Association's Knowledge and Practice Standards for Teachers of Reading. So if you haven't ever heard of the KPS, so fondly called, there's a link that you'll have in your handout so you can download it. It's a comprehensive document. We kind of think of that as a framework, and these are a set of standards. And you might wonder, International Dyslexia Association, well, I want to talk about reading, but these standards were created for all teachers of reading with that extra focus also on those students with dyslexia, or what does it take to be knowledgeable in the area of dyslexia, which is just basically digging deeper into those knowledge and practice standards for all teachers of reading. So we've used that as our guide for our time together. And Donna, I'm thinking that you might need to put the handout in the chat one more time, because I think new people have joined us. And I do believe that you will want to have that, because we're not giving you the PowerPoint slides. We did this on purpose. We're giving you a note catcher. And that has all these links, and it's just like you can't really see my paper, but it's kind of an outline and it has the links. So let me see. Stephanie, I'm going to let you go, and
Yeah,
I will try to see if I can get them in the chat as well. They're kind
that
of
sounds great.
Can everyone mute themselves too, except our speakers? Just
So the
in
other,
case.
yeah,
Thanks.
muting your line is really helpful, especially for people who
Can
might.
Donna, could you put that in the chat one more time again?
Yep, I'm working on it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
So in addition to using the knowledge and practice standards as kind of a framework or a guide for this presentation, we also are framing it under sort of having the end in mind, right? So what is the reason why you want to increase your knowledge? What's the reason why you want to seek some additional training? And I'll just pause and say, I think it's amazing that so many teachers are interested in learning more and improving their craft around reading instruction, especially this particular school year. So kudos to all of you who are looking to take on even more knowledge and increase your skill set. So we thought, if people would think about what's your goal, what's your professional goal, what is it that's driving you to want to learn more? And we came up with the list that you see here. And many folks are just not considering a job change. They're thinking about just being more effective in their current role as classroom teachers. Other folks might be wanting to make a change, move into private practice, become a tutor or a private practitioner. Some of you might be thinking about a particular title or role like dyslexia specialist. And some of you are specifically looking for a master's degree. So those are some of the options that we've been keeping in mind as we framed the presentation.
Oops, sorry. I forgot I have to move.
That's okay. So one of the things we definitely want to caution you about is that each district and each state is going to have its own criteria around some of these things. They have their own terminology about reading specialists or dyslexia therapists, dyslexia interventionists, specialists, and so on. So before you engage in any professional development, you should make sure if one of those titles is your goal, you should make sure that you've investigated what your state requires and what your district might require. And even if there's not a formal requirement, there might be norms in your community or in your state of what people who have that role have as their background and training. So we encourage you to look into that. Now, this is an understatement. There are many, many, many options. And as Concha started with, we're using the International Dyslexia Knowledge and Practice Standards as kind of our overarching umbrella to guide thinking about ongoing learning and professional development. We're going to be sharing with you the distinction between accreditation and certification. And we're going to attempt to explain all of the acronyms that you see listed here. We'll talk about those different organizations and what they offer. And in addition to accreditation and certification, we'll share with you some other training options, some that I think of as product specific. So might be that you're looking to be trained in a particular instructional approach like Barton or Spalding or Wilson or one of the 95% group materials, for example. Or you might not be looking to implement a specific program, you just want to increase your general knowledge. So this is the framework that we're going to use for the presentation.
So we want to start by clarifying some terminology that can be confusing. So there's two big terms, accreditation and certification. So I want to kind of just walk through that a little bit. Accreditation, that term is really used as for organizations or programs, and if you are an accredited training program, what that's saying is that you have met a set of standards. There's accreditations in all kinds of fields, but we're going to be talking specifically about this topic, that they've met a set of standards and they're rigorous and proves that their program is teaching all of these components, whatever those standards are. Now we're talking about, again, those knowledge and practice standards from IDA, International Dyslexia Association. And so we're going to be kind of delving into a little bit about accreditation by IDA for these different training programs. So that's one category, and we'll talk about that first. Then we're going to switch over and talk about probably what you're interested in, and that is my certification. So an individual is certified, and the certification is telling you that you have met the standards from that accredited program, that you have done a set of tasks or skills or coursework that has met the criterion for you to be certified by an organization, typically that's an accredited organization. So two big terms that are easily confused. All right, so now we're going to delve in a little bit deeper to the International Dyslexia IDA accreditation. So remember, we have these knowledge and practice standards out there. I really encourage you to go to the website and pull those off. It's a big fat book. I have them right here. It's a lot of information, but really there's only a couple pages of it that give the outline, and then this big fat book is telling you examples of it. Okay, so that are the standards. And then inside of IDA's website, which I encourage you, we're going to keep telling you to go do more homework. All we're really doing is giving you a homework assignment, a big fat giant homework assignment. But inside of IDA's accreditation, there's two categories. They have one that's called accreditation, and those organizations have met this set of standards. And then there's this accreditation plus, and that accreditation plus is indicating that there is a practicum that you have to go through to become certified. And I'm going to take a minute just to read from this. This comes straight off their website. It was just copied off their website. So this accreditation plus is indicating that educators have engaged in an intensive supervised practicum experience, and that they have applied mastery of the principles and practices of structured literacy. Okay, so then a little bit deeper in that they have the skills of the service of preventing reading failure and remediating, I like this, off-track readers with the profiles characteristic of dyslexia. Okay, so this is more in depth. You would have coursework, and then many of them, different standards have different amounts of time that you would actually be in a supervised practicum. Okay, and that just means student, kind of like a student teaching, where you're going to have someone observe you, they're going to give you feedback, and you're going to grow so much from that. But maybe you don't need that much. Maybe you just need the coursework. Okay.
So accreditation applies to programs. There's different types of programs that can be accredited by IDA, either at the accreditation level or accreditation plus. So training programs at universities, whether that's master's level programs, whether it's certificate level or specialist level university programs can be accredited by IDA. And other organizations other than IDA, like IMSLC and OGA, they also they also have accreditation from IDA and offer their own accreditation of training centers. So other programs, in addition to the ones that we're mentioning, can be accredited by IDA, and the entire list is what you'll find on IDA's website. So the full list of university training programs that are accredited by IDA is on the website that you see on this slide. There are just a couple of examples listed here. And as Concha mentioned, you want to look for the ones that have Accreditation Plus if you are particularly interested in having a practicum, a supervised practicum experience as part of your university training program. And so some of those university training programs are at the master's level, others might be at the certificate or specialist level. Some are in different programs, general education, special education. So use that website that we've linked here to investigate if what you're looking for is a university training experience.
And Donna, I did say somebody, did we, oh, we got the handouts posted again. Good. All right, good. We want to make sure because the handouts will help you. They're not going to be word for word what are on these slides because I didn't feel we didn't think there was a need that you had to have all these words because you're going to go back now and do your research and the handouts give you the link. So keep wanting to give that little disclaimer. Okay, so now I want to switch gears. Dr. Stollar was telling you that about the university programs accredited by IDA. And then there's also this whole other category of independent educator preparation programs, coursework that you can take. Again, we have over here the accreditation, and these are definitely courses that you can take that will follow those knowledge and practice standards, and they use that term structured literacy. All of these are courses. Then on this side, we have those that offer coursework and the practicum as well, that supervised practicum. I'm really not going to go into a great deal of information about each. I'm really not going to go into any information about each of these because now, once you kind of understand this, do I just need an accredited? Do I want to do the practicum? Then it's going to be incumbent upon you, the wonderful world of Google, right? You're just going to go in there and you're going to start digging around and looking at these different categories and which program is going to be the right fit for you. We can't answer that question for you because it's, like we said, many, many, many. And what you do get from looking at an accredited by IDA site is the knowledge that each one of these programs or training centers, or depending on their format, had to go through that rigorous process of applying to IDA and showing that their program met all those standards. And I'm going to tell you, it's a very rigorous process. Part of some of the jobs I've had before are going through program accreditations. And so it's hours of work. So, all right. Now, there's another little category. I'm going to go back here. Let me go back for just a moment. So I want to point out there's a couple organizations here that also do accrediting, but they're accredited by IDA. That's a little confusing. So that's what I want to talk about right down here. Let me see. So these two organizations are actually accrediting organizations. They have underneath them or through their organization many, many, many programs that are accredited by them. So what they did, IMSLC and the Orton Gillingham Academy, they used to be called AOGPE, you probably still see that. It's just recently changed its name. Both of these programs have their own accreditation process. So now you can dig in a little bit more here and see IMSLC accredits more of a program. They're more focused around programs, things like Spalding, Kendor Learning. In Michigan, they have Brainspring, Orton Gillingham, and many more. And here's a university that's accredited, Clark Fairleigh Dickinson, right? And also they might be Scottish Rite Learning Centers. That might be something you've heard of. So this is worthy of looking into, and you're going to want to dig in a little bit deeper. Okay, so now I'm going to jump over here. Hope this is clear as mud. It's quite complex. The Orton Gillingham Academy has a little bit more of a focus toward teaching the what we would say pure Orton Gillingham approach, not a program. And I'm going to talk a little bit about OG. What is OG in just a minute. So these centers have met the guidelines of the academy. Okay. And there's many more. And the other thing about the academy is it also accredits individual training, what we would call fellows. That's what they're called at the academy. So individual people that are able to train others in the Orton Gillingham approach. So they're going to really call it the Orton Gillingham approach. So I bet you are wondering, and we hear the term OG all over the place, up and down the street, right? I mean, I don't know, in my street, we hear it up and down the street. Depends on what street you're on, I bet. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Orton Gillingham. It's a little hard to wrap your head around, but I want to start by talking about what OG is not, okay? I think it's easier to focus on this than what it is, and I'm going to come back to what it is. So Orton Gillingham, it's not one program. There's no program called Orton Gillingham. It's a set of principles and an approach to teaching, right? There's not one single organization, no such thing. It's not a copyrighted name. Anyone can use that term. There's no copyright by it. So hence you have to be very cautious when you hear people talking about Orton Gillingham, and you have to dig a little bit deeper and ask some questions, okay? So Orton Gillingham's not owned by anyone or any entity. There's not one set of materials, and of course there's not one set scope and sequence, and you'll hear that through a lot of the structured literacy stuff. No one set. So this is a little bit dense over here, but I'm going to summarize these things to say it's an approach. You'll hear that over and over. It's not a program, it's an approach. It's an approach that is sound to symbol, focused, phonics based. And these are some really important things I want to point out to hear. This idea that it's structured yet flexible. It's designed to be used by different kids, different teachers, different programs, okay? So that's what you're going to want to be thinking when you ask people, tell me more about your Orton Gillingham. You might be looking for this idea, structured yet flexible. It's systematic and explicit, using direct instruction, but also supported that guided discovery, where I'm not just going to have you go discover something, I'm going to guide you to learning, and we call that a cognitive approach, okay? So Orton and Gillingham, almost 100 years old. It's in the 1930s and 40s that Dr. Samuel Orton and Anna Gillingham began coming up with these principles that they used. Now, I'm going to say something very funny here, is that what you're going to find over here when you read this list, it sounds like structured literacy, doesn't it? And the International Dyslexia Association also has its roots in the original name was the Orton Dyslexia Society in the 1940s. So these roots all go back to these same principles. But now, of course, we have so much research that has validated these principles, 100 years old, validated by, I'm saying 40, I may be inaccurate, 30, 40, many years of research, right? Okay, so that's Orton Gillingham. Now, we talked about accreditation, different layers of accreditation. We talked a little bit about OG, but now we're going to jump into the next part, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stollar.
So now we're going to go into the realm of certifying individuals. So programs are accredited, individuals can get certified. So this would be when you're thinking that you want to deepen your knowledge and improve your practice around reading instruction in particular. So you already have your teaching license or certification, and now you want to add to that. So why would somebody want to increase their level of certification, take on this additional learning? I think there's two realms of rationale why this might make sense. For you as a professional, it's going to give you a framework of rigorous training and learning. And if you involve yourself in training that has a practicum, then also being supervised to implement what you're learning. It's going to give you a community of other professionals around you. It's going to give you a way to structure up your continuing professional development. So you will not just take one course, but it will help guide you in ongoing learning over time. And then the other sort of realm or way of thinking about it is it lets other people see you as somebody who has a high level of training, who's been through a rigorous program or course of training. And so it gives you that credibility as well in terms of how other people are viewing you. So there are lots of options for you as an individual becoming certified. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about each of these. You can see them listed here. SIRI is the entity that works with IDA to certify individuals. Remember, IDA accredits programs, and their related entity called SIRI certifies individuals. The Orton Gillingham Association also has a process of certifying individuals. ALTA is the branch of IMSLIC that you saw earlier. Not a branch, that's not the right terminology, is it, Concha? That it's the entity with a relationship with IMSLIC. Is that a more accurate way of saying it? So ALTA certifies individuals. And then there are also program-based certifications. So you heard us mention IMSE earlier. They have a process of certifying individuals, and people who have gone through some of these other certification mechanisms can also be certified by SIRI. So there are multiple routes, and I think you're getting the sense that these things are related and they're not mutually exclusive categories, right? So that's what makes this a tangled web. But we're doing our best to sort it out for you. Okay.
Okay, so let me jump off of what Stephanie was saying and go a little bit deeper. And I do want to say, yes, you can be multiply certified. You too can be multiply certified. I'm not promoting that, but I'm saying it can happen. So we're going to start with SIRI. And so this is directly from the website. They say, oh, wait a minute, did I take it off? Oh, here, an affiliate of IDA.
That's the word.
So SIRI is an affiliated and affiliate of IDA. They're really together, but not. And their job is to certify individuals. Again, you won't be surprised. They're looking for you to go to have evidence of having gone through a training that meets those knowledge and practice standards. Again, that's that underlying theme that in current here is those knowledge and practice standards that have really created a national standard for us, or maybe even international, of looking at what is considered a highly trained teacher of reading, knowledge and practice standards for teachers of reading. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about the SIRI standards. Again, you're going to have to go right there to their website. They have a whole booklet about that. No, another fat booklet, another booklet that walks through the levels. But let me just briefly tell you there's 3 levels that they offer. This one's called Structured Literacy Classroom Teacher. And they are recommending that you have 45 hours of coursework, and then you pass their exam. SIRI has their own exam called the KPIRI. It has a name for it. I forgot what it was. It stands for knowledge and blah, 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 blah. Must be something about reading in there, don't you think? But again, the exam shows that you've met those knowledge and practice standards, right? So this certification does not require a practicum. So now you're getting the idea, oh, there's that accredited list over there. These programs, I take this coursework and I can take this exam and I can have this certification. So then it just gets to be a little bit higher level and a little bit higher level. Then they have the dyslexia interventionist level, coursework 90 hours of a practicum, coursework and practicum 90 hours. So that's sounds like quite a lot, but it's actually not as high as many other organizations, which I'll walk through in just a moment. And then the highest level is this structured literacy dyslexia specialist, 135 hours of coursework and practicum. So there's a caveat here. Both of these require a practicum. IDA does not offer a practicum. IDA does what, this is the key word, practicum under the direction of an IDA accredited partner. So somebody else is actually giving you your practicum, right? And that would be any one of those accredited or accredited plus programs. I think I did want to make a note here. That's later. I'm going to say that later. You can see it's kind of getting a little dense, isn't it? Okay, now who else certifies individuals? The Orton Gillingham Academy will certify an individual. So you could go through the Orton Gillingham Academy and become certified and then go over there and take this KPIRI test and have IDA certification, because remember, it's an affiliated partner, right? Orton Gillingham has multiple levels. I'm not going to walk you through all the hours, but it's increasingly more refined at the skill level. You can see at this certified level, the Academy says that they're qualified to work at the tier 3 level. So they kind of aligned it to the tiers, okay? And then what you would look for if you were going to get trained from Orton Gillingham is a fellow. They're called a fellow, and those people are the individuals who are qualified to train. That's all through the Orton Gillingham Academy. Again, you can look on their website. Now this is where we come to IMSLC's partner organization, or and remember, IMSLC accredits the program. Then they send the people over to ELTA. ELTA also has an exam you have to pass at these different levels for certification, okay? So the first level of certification with ELTA is called a practitioner. So you're a certified academic language practitioner. That one actually has a few more hours than the SIRI certification does at the second level. So anyway, increasingly complex, increasingly building your knowledge base, okay? And so then these are the same people, kind of same as an OGA, similar to OGA fellow, the qualified instructor. All right, isn't that getting complicated now to see? Remember, I think the takeaway is you can get a certification through SIRI, but if you're going to do that practicum piece, you have to go through one of their affiliated partners, okay? So, and also remember that some of those accredited, for example, IMSE, isn't accredited plus, but they still offer certification, and you can get through to SIRI and get that certification. So you can just dig through some of that information.
So if you have decided for yourself, it's not important for you to get a university degree, if you've decided that certification in one of the ways that Concha described is not important to you, you don't need to have that certification, there are other really high quality training options out there and available to you. So we are sort of categorizing them in a couple of different ways. Some are product specific, some are not product specific. So Concha, if you'll go to the next slide, we can kind of tease that out a little bit more. So in the realm of other training options, you can see some of the product specific, well, let me start with product specific. What do we mean by that? When there is a published instructional product that offers usually its own training. So you can see some examples listed here, like 95% Group, they are authors and publishers of products. One of their products is the Phonics Lesson Library. And so you can get training on the product from the author, or in some other cases from the publisher. That would be a product specific. If your school is going to be implementing one of these particular instructional products, it makes sense for you to get training in that product, right? And then on the other side of this slide are the non-product specific trainings. And here we just went to the IDA website again, and some of them are accredited by IDA, some are not accredited by IDA. And again, we're not endorsing any of these necessarily, just listing some that are available, some that come up frequently in Donna's Facebook group, and the ones that you'll see listed on the IDA website as having accreditation. So one of the really fortunate things is that there are so many options, right? We just want you to be thoughtful and informed about your options so that you don't go down a path and spend a lot of time or money on something that doesn't get you to that ultimate goal that you have in mind. Okay, so we're going to switch gears. Did you want to add to that, Concha?
I want to add something. I encourage you to do your research, look through these and see if there are really humans on the other end of the line that you can talk to, because you can read all day long, but getting that sense of who this is, what it is, how do I need, all of that by having that human touch, I think, well, I don't know, I love to talk about this stuff. So I love to help people do that process. So anyway, I just think having someone on the other end of the line that you can talk to is helpful.
I agree. That's really, really strong advice. To call them up and have a conversation before you make an investment. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to switch gears again, and we're not going to provide you any new information. What we're doing now is just presenting the same information in a slightly different process. We're going to sort of give it to you in a little bit more like a flow chart, kind of a if-then type of a sequence here. Okay, answering these questions. So let's go ahead to the next slide and start with that first question. Do I want a master's degree? You know, in some districts, this bumps you up on the pay scale, right? You just might have a professional goal to get a master's degree. And if that's the case, we would encourage you to consider finding a university master's degree program with the IDA Accreditation Plus, because that involves the supervised practicum. If you've decided that your professional future doesn't involve a master's degree, maybe you already have a master's degree and you answer no to that question, then you can go to the next question.
Okay, so the next question is, do I want to go into private practice, or do I want certification? So I would encourage you, if you're thinking about going into private practice, I would call it as a practitioner, then no one's going to force you to do this, but now I'm going to give my opinion. I think you should be certified. Seek some level of certification because you want to be highly trained to work with individual students. Okay, we said I'm not disclaiming, but certification will help you really hone those skills. So now, again, this is just to repeat. These are our certifying bodies. The SIRI, who works affiliated with IDA. Remember, they don't actually provide you with the practicum. You have to seek elsewhere to get that. That's where you would go to perhaps IMSE, that they have that, even though they're not that plus, they do have a practicum component. And then one of these other organizations that would have a practicum component. So certification is really going to require that higher level of a practicum, right? Okay.
And if you've answered no to this question, you aren't seeking certification, then you can go to the next question. is there a specific program that I'm going to be adopting or my school district is going to be adopting? If the answer to that is yes, then do your research and look for training either from the publisher of that program, the author of that program, or somebody who has extensive training in that program would be sort of our advice about that. And if you're not planning on implementing a specific program, you can go to the next question, which at this point, you're just embarking on this for your own general knowledge. And here again, we would direct you back to the IDA website. You can find the courses that are accredited by IDA there, which means they're in alignment with that knowledge and practice standards, or you can pursue one of the other many great training options that are out there, and they were listed on that previous slide. Okay, so we're
a lot of options, aren't there?
A lot of options, no shortage of options. But you should be an informed consumer as you go investigating those options. Okay, so just to give it to you in a different way, we've got 3 different scenarios.
Right,
repetition. Hopefully it'll start to sink in. So let's say you are a classroom teacher who wants to increase his or her knowledge and be more effective at teaching reading. And do you already have a master's degree? No, then we would encourage you to consider a master's degree from an IDA accredited university program. If you already have a master's degree, you might look at other programs that are IDA accredited. Again, at that accreditation plus level, you're going to have that supervised practicum. So the second scenario would be, let's say, a teacher who wants to become a reading specialist. In this case, we would encourage you to really investigate what your state requires, what your district requires, or even just what the community norm or standard is, because that can really vary widely. And if this is your goal, we want to make sure that you can achieve that goal with the training that you have participated in.
Now again, we're going to go to our third scenario, our third and final scenario, right? If you would like to go into private practice, then we really encourage you to consider getting some type of certification and going through a program that will have that supervised practicum component to it. And again, we kind of talked through these different options. You're going to look to SIRI, look to OGA, look to ALTA, any of those organizations. And remember, SIRI is you're going to jump back to one of those other partner programs. So you're going to definitely do your research on this. That's where you're going to head. That's where you'll head, right? Head over there trying to figure out, how am I going to do this training? How many hours, what levels? And I do want to just say that like I said, I told Donna to say I'm a self-proclaimed word nerd. I'm just telling you, you can spend your life training and getting the next level and the next level, and many people do, so you're going to just make a plan. You're going to make a step forward. You're going to call people, talk through, find out what other people are doing. You're just going to have to dig in there and look around. And what kind of happens once you start going down one of these paths is you kind of become part of a social network of people that are either ALTA type people or OGA type people. And I mean, there's crossover too, but that's kind of just the way it's going to end up going for you. So I'm excited for you to even be thinking about that, because like I said, I love that idea. But you'll really want to think deeply and ask a lot of questions.
So to summarize, Concha's going to sum us up, and then we've got some final questions to pose to you as your final words of advice, I guess.
Well, that was a lot of information. I hope that just began to crack that egg, is kind of the way I was looking at it. You have some background information. You know that you have a decision-making process. We hope we guided you through that decision-making tree. I think I said this already, though. Do your research, ask questions. That's the biggest thing. So keep digging around.
So some things that we thought you might consider when you call up some of these entities to get more information. You might want to think about the cost of materials in addition to the cost of the course. How much of it is going to be synchronous or asynchronous learning, and does that fit your style and needs? How much would be interactive and hands-on? What's the background and certification level of the person who would be doing your training? And get the details about the practicum. If there's an additional cost involved, if it's going to be in person, if it's going to be a virtual experience, and who will be supervising you. So that might give you a little bit of a checklist to run through when you do call up some of these entities.
I love a good checklist. Like, tell me what I need to ask. So I would just totally use this as my checklist for finding out more. So I think now we're in a position, we have some time left. There were some good things in the chat box. So we are here to answer questions for you, some questions for you. And I did notice a couple of specific questions. Yes, Miss Donna.
So we have a couple questions. What I'd like you to explain, this is my own question for 4 people. Can you explain what the knowledge and practice standards are, KPS from IDA?
Yeah, maybe Concha, you would maybe just even read a couple. So it's a set of standards for reading instructors, and not just teachers of students with dyslexia or students with disabilities, but it's a set of standards for any teacher who is teaching reading to students of any age. And it's organized in categories. So there are assessment standards, there are standards around particular skill areas. And so maybe Concha, you would read a couple of those so people get a sense of that.
And again, it's focused around that idea of structured literacy and those structured literacy principles.
Yes.
And how they've organized it. So there's 5 big categories, and Stephanie mentioned already assessment, the idea of understanding different reading profiles, the history of how reading is acquired and the research around it, and then a lot of things about, I don't know if you're familiar with the big 5, the 5 components of reading instruction. There's a subcategory for each of those categories: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, and so on, right? So, and then I encourage you, if you're going to go in there and dig it out, there's the thing that you would want to look at is I think it's pages 9, 10, and 11. There's only 3 pages, and it's a summary table. Those are my favorite ones. These pages 9, 10, and 11. It's a summary, and you know, if I had a second, I might could find it and put it in the chat, because I've already made a copy of that just recently. Okay, so Donna, is that enough information?
You know, what I was going to add is if you would mention, I don't know if it's in the document that you have, but some of the people who were involved in writing those standards. So they convened a group of experts, right, from diverse perspectives, but experts in structured literacy. Louisa Moats was very involved in crafting those standards. And so I personally think they're just excellent and really a great framework that every reading instructor should know about.
Let me tell you a couple of the names, because we said we were going to do that, Stephanie, and then I forgot. And I do want to say that this is in the second version, but they've been around since 2010. So this idea has been gaining momentum over, you know, what is that now? A decade. So, all right. So Nancy Cushion-White, Suzanne Carricker, Susan Brady, Tim Odegaard, Elsa Cardenas-Hagen, Louise Spear-Swerling, Louisa Moats. I bet you've heard of some of those names. So these are the folks that have, you know, really worked hard to create this, like a set of national standards.
Yeah.
And in fact, I just want to add to that lots of legislation is based on those standards. Unfortunately, there's a misunderstanding because it comes from IDA, a dyslexia organization, that many legislators don't want to use them because they're tied to a dyslexia association, when in fact they are just basic reading goals, reading standards for all learners, not just for kids with dyslexia.
That's
So
right.
yeah, it has an issue just because of the organization it comes from.
So that's unfortunate. So we can all help
It's unfortunate.
communicate and help people understand what those standards are about.
Okay, so here's a question. For example, if I were AOGA, would SIRI recognize that practicum as long as I pass the KPEERE, or would they want me to do another practicum through an IDA, through an accredited IDA partner?
OGA is an accredited IDA partner. Okay, so remember that. We went back to that list. OGA is right there. So if you're an associate already with OGA, yes, that is the partner, affiliated partner. So you could add to your certification for another $100 and something, and you can take that KPRE test and you can add that IDA certification. Yes, indeed.
Okay, great.
And there was another kind of question up there that somebody said about the top 10 teacher tools.
Right.
So, the same thing, because that top 10 teacher tools is an accredited program. You know, they've met the knowledge and practice standards. They've proven that because they were accredited. So then you are eligible there, right there. And I think with that one, you would take the first level of the first SIRI level with that one, the teacher level one.
Okay.
And I have something I just was noticing in the chat too, Miss Donna, if that's okay, I'll jump in and say, somebody said out in the Pacific Northwest, nobody knows about this certification. I'm going to say across the entire United States, many people don't know anything about this. So what you can become then is a spokesperson. And once you understand those knowledge and practice standards, you get that idea that, oh, there is a set of standards for teachers of reading, then you can begin having your voice chimed in there. And I think that's how systems change over time.
I'm sensing another workshop coming called the KPS or Knowledge and Practice Standards. Wouldn't that?
Well, that's a great idea, actually. That's a great idea.
It really is, because, you know, again, it's right in front of us, but we need to point it out.
Unpack them and
unpack them. Okay.
It's my joke. One of my little jokes I always say is like, you know, beds, this is what you're going to take for your beach trip. And you're going to sit under your beach umbrella and you're going to read the KPS. Umbrella drink. That's what I do. Isn't that what you do?
You would need an umbrella drink to get through those, you know. Okay, let's see here. Okay, just a thank you. Value will be increased if State Department of Eds and insurance providers recognize this. Okay, that's from Eileen. Yeah, I don't see anything really jumping out at me.
I see Mara asked, IMSLIC, is this one of the accrediting organizations? Remember, yes, IMSLIC is accredited by IDA and it has a job itself. It accredits other organizations. So it's that dual thing going on. That's kind of confusing.
Okay. Do you see anything else? I'm not seeing anything else.
Good question.
Here's another concern people have, that there's a yearly fee to maintain.
That's true with any professional association. It's true with the Reading League, you know, and so those professional dues are part of the package, I guess. And so you're helping to support that organization to provide the services that you can then take advantage of. So in some cases, that'll give you discount to attending their their conference. It will allow you to get their publications sent to you, and have access to the community of other professionals who are dues paying members of that association. So yes, there are fees involved with being in a professional association. And I really feel strongly that you have a professional obligation to participate in at least one. We don't have to all be like Concha and have multiple certifications and associations that we're members of, but you should have something that is sort of shaping your ongoing professional development, that community that you can be part of. So I'm a proponent of that.
Me too.
Build it into the budget.
It's hard to choose which one. I understand that, but if you know, you're just going to have to make that personal decision. And I see somebody, Deb was mentioning, there are also CEUs required for different certifications. A good point that you, but I mean, come on, we're going to be taking this to the beach, aren't we? So we might as well get our CEUs, right?
Okay. Let's see. That's about it. Let's see.
Good, we did it.
Yep, you can get SIRI. Okay, top 10 tools in passing the keeper or K Perry. Yeah, can you instead get COLP certified? Can you pass the ALTA exam after TTT?
ALTA with TTT, ALTA requires a practicum. Okay, so I don't know that TTT has a practicum component of it. Both OGA and I say ALTA, but they say ALTA out west. ALTA all have that requirement of practicum. Remember, they're accredited plus. And TTT was on the other side of the accredited. Okay, so you could do a little more research though.
And I want to add to all the viewers here, it's really critical when you do training to have a practicum. That is really where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Especially in this day and age of online learning, if you're not doing a practicum, you're going to miss some of the nuances of what you were trained in. And it's a whole different animal when you're working one-on-one with a kiddo, and applying what you've learned. So I would really.
Some of the certifications allow for group practicum as well, so you don't necessarily have to do the one-on-one. In some of those areas, you could be actually working. If you're a classroom teacher, you could do the practicum, and which I encourage with your small group, like your intervention group.
Yes, good point.
Yep. Okay, everyone. So someone had a question about where they'll see this. This recording will be uploaded tonight to YouTube. So it'll be on my YouTube channel, Donna Heitmanick at YouTube. So it'll be there. I will also post it on the Facebook page. But as you know, things get lost there. So your best bet is to go to YouTube to find it. Okay.
Thanks everyone for your time tonight.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks for prompting us to do it, Donna. And
You're welcome.
thank you, Concha.
Thank you.
Helping me. It was great to work with you.
Very fun.
Nice to meet everyone. Nice to see you.
I'm going to miss you.
I know. Well, we'll have to have another project so we can keep connecting.
KPS, come on.
Hey, Donna, it's
Think about
Eileen.
it.
Yes,
Hey.
Eileen.
Hey, Donna. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hi, Eileen.
Oh my God. Hi, Stephanie. It's actually like the afternoon and I'm able to dial in because it's not Thursday. I'm so excited. Hey, question. When you post the recording, can we post it on our Washington State SOR groups?
Always. Everything I
Okay.
post is shareable. Please.
Perfect. Okay. Because we had a bunch. We're still people are still working out here now.
Yeah.
So.
No. That's why we're a team, right? We're doing it
Yeah,
all together. Okay.
It's just a courtesy, right?
I
Just a
know. I
courtesy.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Who's tired? Did you guys all do the reading link this morning?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess it was 6 a.m. here. Yippee.
And then CCSSO this afternoon. So
Yeah,
I was
what was
double. The CCSSO presentation was this afternoon also. So I was doing double screening.
What is
The
CCSSO?
Council of Chief State School Officers. So
Oh.
their initiative where they are supporting, so it's an agency, an entity in Washington, D.C., and they were communicating out information about the science of reading to state superintendents and other Department of Ed staff to support them to implement changes in higher ed, support for administrators, support for teachers to provide effective reading instruction. So the Mississippi folks shared their journey, and it was nice work. They have a document that they've released. So it's really nice that there's that national focus on the science of reading and coming from lots of different angles.
So let me ask a question on that. So assuming somebody from the state of Washington attended CCSSO,
yes,
they would have attended. Are there takeaway videos that they will also be able to watch? Or was it just attend or you're done?
I haven't looked at the email they sent afterwards. I can reach out to you, Eileen, and let you know if they provided a link to the recording and the document that they released.
To the people who attended. The reason is, fun fact, in the state of Washington, OSPI's long-term policy changes must begin now that came out January 11th. Number 4 is completely overhaul early literacy and teach students using proven strategies that are grounded in the science of reading.
Woo, woo.
So we actually made number 4 on the list, and learning loss, dual language, and looks like preschool are the things above it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's exciting. Anyway,
Lots
well,
of
thanks
momentum.
for doing that. Yeah, you've been super busy.
Lots
Have a glass of wine.
Yeah, at least put my jammies on, put my feet up. Yeah,
for sure. Oh, it's still light here. We're going for a walk. Okay. Well, thanks, you ladies. Appreciate it.
Very
always.
good. Good night,
good
everyone.
to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's see here.